Oh my God. Are we back? Is this really? Wait, hold on. It's working. Ladies and gentlemen, Midwich Live is back. It is the 28th of November. We've taken some time, but good time at that, to prepare you for this show, because this show is our Tech Expectation show, the great Tech Expectations, as Jenny pointed out, because we only have great expectations of what's going to happen, but we are going to deliver the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Sorry, folks, I am coming off a jury duty this week, so I am being very legal and very proper. Jenny, speaking of legalities, let's give them the scoop of what Midwich Live is.
So, same as always, we are streaming around the world via Midwich's YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter socials, socials. Please ask us questions, comment throughout via the chat function. We actually really need that today, as we are guest free. It is just us. On whichever platform that you're joining us on, either we'll see it or producer Kerry will share it with us. And if you don't get a chance to watch today's show in full, do not worry. You can watch it back via our YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Or if you don't like our faces, as always, you can just listen to us via Midwich Sounds. So this is a sort of unprepared, unrehearsed show. We've both been really busy. You've been super busy and going to all points of the country. And so, yeah, we wanted to do a sort of roundup of the year and make some technology and trend predictions for next year. And I don't think, I've written all mine down. I don't think Chris knows any of them yet. So
no. This is going to be great. I looked into my crystal ball,
which is
or my
not
jingle ball, whatever you want to call it. I looked into it, and I can tell you that I have no clue what Jenny's going to come to the show with. Which this is great, because our best shows have always been the ones, always been the ones that we are unprepared for. Yeah. Producer Kerry's off to the side in the background, basically sitting on pins and needles, waiting to see what we're going to say, because it's unrehearsed, it's live. I have to quickly say hello to Ifat, who is on the chat right now. Thank you so much for watching over on the YouTube channels. And we are encouraging folks to jump in. Tell us if we're right. Tell us if we're wrong. The chat is on the window to the side, and you can join us on the conversations, and we'll bring it up, and we'll do shout outs and do all the things that I guess all kind of podcast people do when they're doing their stuff. But definitely interact, engage with us. That's what we're looking for. Jenny, kick us off with the first thing that you want to drop on them.
So, I was going to go with, the sort of bad news first, good motivational stuff after. Or I think it's going to work out like that. So, naturally, before we kind of look at what we think next year's going to bring, we have to look at what this year's delivered so far. And so if we go back to the beginning of the year, I think we all began with a pretty positive outlook, actually. And in the case of our own performance, we will grow. We've got some amazing stories in certain territories and certain categories of significant overperformance. And then there's this sort of underlying narrative of a really struggling market almost everywhere apart from China. And so I've drilled into that a little bit, and we have to be careful in terms of who we reference on here. A lot of the people that we go to for data, it's for sale and it's not ours to share. So I won't label the sources, but I'll give you a sort of indication of what we've been hearing. And that is that the overall market in our sort of core categories, AV only, if we remove China, who've had a fantastic time because they've sort of gone through their COVID recovery now, and then a few other territories that are really up and coming. Those established areas for AV, there's numbers of -6% year on year as a reforecast to the end of the year, and actually the highest that I've heard of is 8% growth. Funnily enough, when we started the year, this 7 to 11% was where a lot of the analysts were suggesting, and I do think that we'll probably see that number be about right for 2023. But Europe was massively overestimated. It's not had the time that was expected. And as I say, China massively underestimated in terms of its significant performance. But we'll just pull out a few of the headlines. I've heard numbers ranging from -13 to -22% for the interactive displays category globally. So therefore, my first prediction is to label that category, because surely the only way is up, as the one to make the biggest comeback in 2024. So pipped for biggest comeback, interactive displays, predominantly sold into compulsory education, some higher education. Enterprise switching, though, on the other hand, so networking product, which has become more relevant to our market, 20% increase year on year. That's if you remove wireless products. So I think that says a lot about sort of corporate upgrades that we've seen and so on. But, you know, there's a category that's done very well. But as a whole, computing has been down, not for gaming, but at the desktop. Displays have had a really tough time. It's really quite turbulent times. And I've been trying to work out, what is it that we didn't know going into 2023 that we can take into consideration going into 2024. Now, for Europe, in a couple of places, that's industrial action. But really, it all comes down to cost of living, inflation, the cost of capital. I don't think any of us, because we've been in this sort of recession-proof industry for so long and we've outperformed others, expected for it to hit as hard as it has some of our traditional areas. So it's what's different for 2024? Well, we know now. And I guess that's what we didn't know before. And we've got these better compares, haven't we? So where we have had poor performance in 2023, it makes growth a lot easier in 2024. I used to say this when I was a salesperson: you can be a victim of your own success. The better you do, the higher your target is the next year. So there's an element of ease, I guess, moving into 2024 for some of those categories. But pro audio, any of our technologies that have been sold into live events this year have done really well. And I think that, as I say, that balance will probably mean that some of those forecasts that we saw are going to turn out to be right. But I don't think any of us can stand up and say this has been the most buoyant year. I think we came off the back of a worldie in 2022 for so many people, that it was unreasonable to expect that momentum to continue. But we're entering into 2024 with better compares for growth. And that's the end of the meh. And now I've got good stuff and exciting things that are going to drive that moving forward. But I think we've had a couple of questions.
Yes, we have. Well, the first question comes in from our friend Ifat. She basically has asked, do people still want to share touchscreens? Do people even want to share touchscreens? I mean, are we past that stage of the pandemic where touchscreens is okay? And obviously there's more people jumping in on the conversation. We appreciate that online with the back and forth. Thank you, Noel. We see your input there, and we will highlight that as well. But touching the touchscreens, it's so I have to follow the doomsday parade with you, at least for the first part of it. I made a prediction last year that this year was going to be the year of experiential, right? I felt that coming out of pandemic, that people really wanted to be back in person and part of things. And things have been great. I mean, from a concert touring thing, I think both Beyonce and obviously our friend Taylor Swift are breaking records left and right all over the world with their tours. Obviously, U2 goes to the experiential epicenter of the world right now in the Sphere. And then 30 days later, we get this news about the Sphere operating costs and not living up to the hype, which is wild. I honestly believe that this year was going to be very much more an experiential conversation. And I don't think outside of the concerts and the return to that, because I think people needed that and wanted that. I'm watching things happen, and it's kind of sad. I made a question, or asked a question a couple of weeks ago. How many people still have virtual like wine tastings, right? And people are like, nope, don't do
Yeah,
that.
the good stuff from the pandemic has sort of
Yeah,
died off. Yeah.
At the same time that those things are kind of like faltering, I'm looking at and going, people are obviously worried about 2024, and we're
Yeah.
going to talk about that as well. But one of the things that we did very well in 2020 to 2022, that whole time was that we went towards the virtual meetings, right? We became the evangelists for let's meet on video, right? We encouraged our customers to take video calls with us, and it allowed us to be in multiple places. I mean, obviously, I've been traveling, so I'm back on the grind. But in between those meetings, I'm still doing video calls. First time introductions, second time introductions, follow up meetings. I really hope, going into 2024, when things are starting to tighten up, budgets are starting to get a little tighter. LinkedIn is not telling the prettiest stories lately in terms of, retaining talent. There is talent out there. And folks, if you are one of those people, please post that stuff online. There are people that are out there looking for work at this time of year. Nobody wants to see that. So please, let's keep that. But bring back the virtual components of things. You can still have that and allow you to have multiple meetings over the course of a week, a day, whatever. If you want activity and if you're looking to improve your business, bring back the things that worked. It's not just, things from 2018 and 2019 that were working really well. Incorporate some of the stuff that you guys came up with and were very talented and creative at doing in the pandemic. And that's it. That's my little rant to this whole thing. But Experiential let me down this past year. I'm sorry. Play back the video. I made a mistake in thinking that picture was going to be bigger.
I think there's a few things like that. So the whole, do people still want to share touch screens was such a hot topic during the pandemic, wasn't it? Oh my, get rid of them. I don't know if I should bring this up or not, but they tested McDonald's. I think it was McDonald's. I think it was McDonald's, my opinion, whatever. But they ran a test, like a swab test on one of the touchscreens once, and there was numerous things found in what they collected. But human feces was one of the materials that were collected. So that all. However, I think that interactive displays going into compulsory education, that's not going away. It's a style of teaching, right? They're teaching how to handwrite. So, which annoys me because we're doing cursive writing with my son at the moment, and I just don't see what he's going to need it for, because by the time he's old enough to work, he'll type. Why do we have to spend all this time on joined up writing? But that is where the touchscreens are predominantly sold, and I do think that market will bounce back, and I think that that's the majority of where the tech is sold. So logically, that will continue. For me, it's not necessarily just about sharing touchscreens. I think we've all changed how we present and do meetings and so on. I can't really remember the last time I went and stood up to pitch or present to anyone, unless it was at an event. If I go into a meeting room, I'm going to sit down. I think sometimes you look a bit strange if you don't. And that's why I think that the touch element is becoming less of interest. And I think we've definitely moved away from it in signage using touchscreens. We've found new ways to interact. But that again said, it's now so low cost to have touch capability that a lot of the screens will have it regardless, and whether you choose to use it or not is up to you. I think that's sort of where we're headed to, much like an iPhone. It'll do everything, and then it's up to you if you want to use it.
Two things that stand out in this whole conversation of the touchscreen. One, there is a feel-good story. Remember those hot to trot? Everybody wanted one. Everybody needed one. Temperature sensing tablets. I mean, the industry went bananas for it. They're getting repurposed now. So it's not like that technology, nobody's taking temperatures anymore, threw it away. That is now being repurposed and used in hoteling spaces and other locations. So that is a positive for our industry. You guys worked that out. Thank God you guys didn't have to recreate the wheel to create a scheduling hoteling tablet. You took what was there, an existing bit of tech, and repurposed it, which was great. So kudos to our industry who's out there working, doing that sort of stuff. The second thing, the conversation, when you start talking about touch panels, always goes back to the same thing. The one thing that people know, trust, and love is in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
So the touch screen stuff, as that keeps going, the more interactive that it becomes with the personal tech in your hand, the better it is. And that is, unfortunately, that's the truth. You know, and you're comfortable, and you're touching the phone that is in your pocket. That is the technology you carry with you. How that interacts with the screens, I think that's the key. I could be wrong. There's obviously experts on here watching and hanging on to our words. But yes, I love my particular one because you know what? It comes with the stylus. And the stylus is, as some folks have said, the answer to the not touching the dirty screen. So let's continue to use styluses. I carry one with me all the time.
I lose styluses. I've lost 2 iPad pencils, whatever they're called, and so on. And I have a pencil with me at the moment, though. Just a bog standard pencil I can keep hold of. Expensive Apple ones, not so much. They seem to go walkies.
I'm old school. I'm still doodling while we're talking here. So let's go. It's an informal conversation. This is what we do. And this is how we're drawing the folks in. And real quick, I just want to make note of the people that are here. I just want to say thank you for Adam, who's there out in the LinkedIn verse, who jumped on and just recently asked if we were having a recording. Yes, there's going to be recordings of this. We have obviously Ifat and Noel, all these folks that are on there. Thank you so much for joining our show. And again, it's an impromptu kind of no schedule type thing. So I'm going to move out of this. I acknowledge there's people there. Keep the engagement coming. I appreciate that, Jenny. Let's go to what is uplifting so far.
I'm gonna break my order here. So I've got on here an obvious Techspectation for next year, which I'll just hang back on briefly. I've got what I think might be some of the coolest stuff that we'll see next year.
I'm going to test you at the end of this. I want to know on your cool meter, Jenny's cool meter, where does that fall on a scale of 1 to 5, right?
Okay.
Get ready.
And then I've got one biggest game changer or biggest driving force for change in the industry. And I've got one that's consumer driven. And Ifat just posted about the iPhone, continues to bring out new version every year, etc. So this year we've had the iPhone 15 and the iPhone 15 Pro. And the iPhone 15 Pro has a beta iOS version that allows you to record spatial video. And I think that this was my tick for what is going to have the biggest effect on our industry and Pro AV that's driven by the consumer industry. And it is that. So we've been here before with we had displays at higher resolution than we could actually send video signals for. And at one point, I think we were ahead with 8K. We had a display before we had a camera that could capture it. So this is another one where we're sort of backwards here. We've got spatial video recording capability in the hands of consumer. And, yes, we've got some headsets. Yes, we can create these immersive spaces. But again, there's not a great deal of choice for us to consume those sort of virtual reality setups. And I think that's fine because of, we're able to just record home videos and so on, and then watch them back and feel really immersed in the content. But it's going to go further than that. And if you look at video editing, generative AI, video prompts, and everything that's available to us, you can create something quite close to Netflix cinema at home with no training. And I think that's where we're headed. And this is probably an area where consumer market is way ahead of us and the professional market needs to catch up. We need multiple choice options here of how you consume your spatial audio and spatial video content, that 360, 3D immersive content capability, which leads me on to number 2, which I've labeled coolest with my pencil. And that is, and I'm calling this, and it's got nothing to do with what we're doing at ISE, which we'll come on to shortly, AV in the air, not on the air, not AV on air, AV in the air. So
phrasing, Jenny, phrasing matters.
AV in the air, which comes under the umbrella of holograms or similar. So we have seen last year the Art ARHT boxes, and Proto, I think, was the other one that made an appearance at Infocom, where you're sort of beamed in, and usually live. You stand, well, you appear to be stood in this booth, which is in fact I think transparent OLED panel in front, and then the volume and depth is given by having a sort of back box. There's another one. It is from Holotronica. Holotronica have released one. Theirs is a bit different. It uses projection and very similar. More and more of these. I don't know, do we need any more? But it just shows that it's clearly interest in holographic content. And what I think is even more impressive is when that moves out away from a device. So I hope we see more drone shows, smaller drones as well, actually, so that maybe we're not restricted to having huge open spaces and specific light levels.
I see you're referencing it. You're kind of going down the pixel pitch conversation. Yeah. More drones, tiny drones, little drones.
More drones, tiny drones, brighter colors, so that we can use them in, a wider array. I don't know if you saw, but I think it's Universal Studios are working with a company on retro reflection so that they can create sort of in-air projections without the need for anything for it to bounce off. So you sort of, it's like a beam reflecting and beam splitting technology so that you can position the light where you need it to be, and when it hits each other, you create content in the air. Poof. So yeah, more of this stuff, basically, that we start to see things move away from surfaces, because we've been sticking ourselves to surfaces for years, or we have been the surface for years. So that's what I think is going to be cool. And there is something that I think we need and no one makes yet. And that is that we have all of this educational content and digital twin content that is metaverse-esque, and we just don't really have a device that allows us to consume it. So you see them on movies, and you see them in adverts of people manipulating an engine and so on, and it's clearly supposed to be projected light, or a bit like the Princess Leia hologram from R2-D2, but you interrupt the light with your hand. Well, I wonder how many light sources do we need so that wherever you interrupt that light beam, another one is countering it. Not an inventor, but it's missing. And it's missing whether it's to give us somewhere to consume our iPhone 15 Pro, I don't have one, by the way, created spatial video, or, awesome digital twin based metaverse VR content for higher education.
I have to applaud you. You put so many buzzwords into a complete sentence. In that one sentence, metaverse, digital twin. Awesome. I couldn't do that. You pulled it off, Jenny. That is awesome. I will say, since you did bring it up, of cool things that I want to see invented that doesn't invent, and please, to the viewers that are out there, tell me that I'm wrong, but don't tell me that you can do this using Excel and some ChatGPT. What I need right now for AI to create is AI that does my expenses for me. I spend way too much time trying to piece things together, but I want something that goes, Chris just went and his schedule says he's on a business trip. I'm going to take that expense and automatically put it in there and then deduct it. Let me take it out if it wasn't so much so. Okay, so I don't want to expense my Diet Mountain Dew. Kevin O'Dowd, big shout out to Kevin, who is a big fan of the Mountain Dew. But anyway, That's the one thing I think is missing. One of the things that you kind of touched upon, and you may go into depth with, one of the things that I have been seen now twice, because I went to NAB in Vegas and I also went to NAB New York. A lot of conversation, and I had the pleasure of walking around with a good close friend of mine who is an end user, but a power end user, who was giving me the rundown, because I am far removed from the broadcast side, but I'm getting back into it. Went in and talked about the SMPTE ST2110 and how important that is for the content creators that are out there.
Yeah.
Now, we are obviously distributors. We sell boxes, we sell stuff, we sell services. This particular standard is interesting because I was hearing firsthand from an end user, power user no less, who wants the ability to kind of be out there in the cloud. And there's a whole sort of battle starting there. And I'm sure, Jenny, you can give us the dividing lines of where they're all kind of happening. So for the folks that are not educated, can you give us a little bit on where you're at with the SMPTE 2110 and the SDVoE and all that kind of stuff, because it's all kind of happening all at once. And it's a very interesting time because, again, one of the things that you mentioned earlier is the virtual content and the virtual content production and where that's moving. And this is a big part of it because the world of AV typically focuses on the cameras, the audios, the microphones, and all that. Then there's the piece that is like what we recently got into the business here in the US with bringing in companies that we now are partnering with Edit Share and all this sort of stuff. There's the content, obviously, creation and editing part. But then that third piece, where this is being worked on, how it's being connected. This is where AV companies have kind of not been in that space, but this is where the Netgears play, right? How do you move this content? How do you move this kind of gear? Because in our world, for the old school folks that have been around 20 plus years, the only thing we know is that we can't move that amount of data on the existing pipes as it is, but you can. And people are figuring it out.
People are figuring it out. And we've been figuring it out for a long time. So we've been having this discussion, the AV over IP, and before the pandemic, it was about, when's the switchover going to come? And now we've stopped saying that because we're bored of hearing it. But there's still plenty of legacy AV over IP product that's sold. But actually, it's always made me laugh because we've talked about it as if it's the newest, shiniest thing going into every year for the last, 10 to 15 years. But I joined Midwich to sell a brand called VBrick 12 or 13 years ago. This is not new. We've been doing this for so long. What is new each year is a sort of new contender in the boxing ring of the battle of the protocols, the battle of the codecs. So place your bets, I guess, for this year. Now, do we have a clear leader? No, we don't. SDVoE, software-defined video over Ethernet, has been around the longest in terms of an alliance of vendors. Chris, I think you had like an AV in the AM that somebody brought this up a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week. And I think they were saying that it's all very well saying everybody that's part of the alliance has interoperable product, but actually, unless you've got your own control platform in the center of it, it doesn't. It can talk. Each end can talk to each other, but managing the system becomes quite difficult. Well, they would argue that if you were using the SDVoE API, that's not the case. So perhaps the issue is that we don't have enough third-party control and management solutions to help that. But nonetheless, you will find these arguments for any of them. And moving into next year, I do think that we will see SDVoE continuing to do their thing. I don't think I'm going to be liked for saying this, but what they are best at is being a marketing engine for their members. It's brand exposure. Everybody is getting something from it, but it is brand exposure because it's one of the most talked about. IPMX, born from the broadcast space,
Mm-hmm.
so many variations. So
Right.
we can't say common standard when one person's IPMX product can be so different to the next person's IPMX product. However, I like the idea. You know, I sold Brightsign for years that used to be based on a Broadcom chip, and my USP was always, why wouldn't you have something, you know, made for a video application and not to run your emails or Microsoft Word and goodness knows what else. And then we have the sort of newcomer, and I think I might place my bet on them, and that's Dante doing video.
What? See,
Yeah.
I'm only allowed to say SDVoE twice because if I say it a third time, Justin Kensington creeps into my DMs, and I do not want that.
Yeah.
I'd rather see him in person than have him yelling at me on my
Yeah.
DMs. So,
Yeah.
yes, I did. That is the dark horse, right? The whole
I
Dante.
mean, so okay, let's be realistic here. If everyone had unlimited budget and everybody was either a new build or a complete refresh, and we were allowed to affect all sorts of other infrastructure and not just add AV, sure. 10 gig network product, SDVO, wonderful. Real life isn't there yet. And penny pinching will be a thing, I'm sure, for a long time. Dante, reputation. I mean, this is, it's proven on the audio side. Doesn't matter which brand you buy, doesn't matter. It is interoperable. You can go to Ordinate to have that control and management capability and software from, you take it completely out of the hardware manufacturer's capability to affect you. Yeah, I want to watch. I wouldn't place a huge bet, but I would put a little money on, you know, success and growth for them. However, if there was an others category of same encoder to same decoder and middleware, yeah, that's going to get my vote. It doesn't matter whether it's Visionary, whether it's Crestron. We like products to be the same and to match, don't we? In all aspects of life.
Yes, the walled garden days of AV have been crumbling slowly but surely. I mean, honestly, they all make sense in theory. To have, you need to use all your products of all the same brand, and that's how it works. Great. That death grip is starting to loosen because now, you know, obviously interop is something that has been not just in the world of broadcast. Obviously, it is a played out term in UC. I mean, wow, we saw Microsoft and Zoom and you know, on stage holding hands, kumbayaing. I mean, I never thought that would happen, and here we are talking about interop still, and it's been something that we've talked about for years. But anyway, before I lose sight of this, there are people on the chat right now. Thank you, Noel, for agreeing. The holy grail is AI expense. Bet on that, folks. This is my Jim Cramer moment. That is buy.
Tips for investors.
That is your invest in AI expenses, and don't lose it. Like if it's don't lose control of your expenses. I also would like to say welcome to George Chaco, who is doing amazing things up in Pace University, actually bringing something of interest. Jenny, he's actually working on an AV degree. Not him personally. He is one of the instructors in a program to actually bring AV as a subject, as a degree at Pace University in New York. So
what
shout out to George and all
happens
the stuff
if
he's doing.
people like us then try and you know, pursue that degree and fail? What does that say?
We need to rethink our life choices. There may be some therapy involved in the future. So thank you, George, for giving us our first complex of the day. We will now make, you know, we're going to have to meet offline, Jenny, and talk about this because you're right. Maybe we do need to talk it out. Ladies and gentlemen, I do thank everybody who has been here doing the engagement thing. Please keep the comments coming. That's great. It's encouraging. Jenny's hitting them out of the park. Jenny, you've given us the good, you've given us the bad. Is there ugly, or do we just move on to the can we do unicorns and rainbows?
I'm afraid I'm moving on to obvious.
Let's go to obvious.
So, okay, most obvious Techspectation for next year. AI.
My AI is better than yours. That's all I've been hearing for the last 6 months, and it's a battle. Every manufacturer, mine is better than yours, and a lot of the things. Okay, so let me put some context behind it. Every camera company is out there right now working on the AI for video. It seems to be that's the one of interest in the AV space, right? You got cameras kind of being the director in the spaces, and that's what's hot for us in AV. There's so much more to AI than what we're doing, and I think you're right. It is obvious, but AI, we're literally scratching the surface of what we can do with AI.
We've just been solving problems.
Mhm.
So it's like we haven't really looked at what else we can do with it. And
Mhm.
so I sent producer Kerry a link to a video, which I think we're allowed to play.
Are
It's
we gonna
not
be rebels?
ours, but it came from Q-SYS's own channel. It's about Seervision. It's not the most recent. So if anyone attended Activate and saw their live demonstration, this is a bit different, but I felt that it was a really good one to explain what they've done. So let's roll the Q-SYS video so that we can then have a chat about AI with everybody on the same page of what we're talking about. So that Seervision to be used for camera tracking, speaker tracking, is solving a whole bunch of problems. So we used to either wear something that was followed, but how do you wear something that can be picked up everywhere? Because quite often a lecturer will turn around, turn back, etc. Or we'd have facial recognition or facial shape recognition. But then again, if you turn around or if somebody comes and moves into your space, and I'm not here to pitch Q-SYS product, but this overcomes pretty much everything you can think of in terms of what could go wrong when following a speaker. So again, we've problem solved. What I would like to see in that trigger zone where you had the equations written on the chalkboard, what's useful to the viewer of that content is handwriting to text change so that they can grab that. And something that comes up on the software of the viewing platform that they're on that says, do you want this? Copy and paste it, not constantly having to rely on snipping tools and so on. Maybe some of this stuff exists, and vice versa, talking back, using artificial intelligence to talk back to the presenter. I would like to know when I am running a training session and I have cameras on from all the people that are in there, or I'm pitching and the cameras are on in that call. I want to know when I've lost them. And I don't mind if that's in real time or if it's afterwards, but maybe it's a job for Copilot moving forward. I want it to tell me how I can improve, not just fix the problems that we're aware of or do a job that perhaps a person could have done. I want to know, this is where you lost your audience. This is when they started to fidget. This is when they had confused expressions. And yeah, it's a Techspectation for me that we've probably come up with all of the problems that we can fix with AI easily to date now. We've got some pretty advanced examples, and Q-SYS, I think, will be one of the most talked about at ISE this year. So what's next? Something new, please. Here's something new we can do. Here's something innovative that we can do. Here's something that's not happening already in another way that AI can solve for us. So yeah, it's an obvious one. AI is going to have a material effect on our industry. I'm just most excited about something that makes me go, I never thought to do that.
I'm with you. It's a hot topic. You're right. But it is, again, it's talking about the greatest show you ever saw, and it's been 13 months. Can somebody else come up with something better? Right. It's, what is the next, right? So I think that I'm not saying my jury's out with AI, because I'm always interested in what's coming. I think that what AI does fundamentally is, obviously, to me, the easiest or most effective thing that AI can do is handle daily chores, right? Daily issues. Those will win hearts and minds every day. I mean, I jokingly said about, obviously, I want expense AI, but think about some of the things that, obviously Microsoft Copilot is addressing, right? These are simple things. Automatically, if I set a meeting, it's automatically, populating multiple things down the road. It automatically generates your out of office. Not things that I have to think about, right? We are paid to do certain things as our work, right? Imagine a scientist who is working on a cure for cancer and doesn't have to worry about writing reports because it's kind of done, and he can focus on the science that he's doing for the greater good, right? Just think about things like that. Maybe, AI can be used in classrooms, taking attendance, so the teacher can start immediately doing what they need to do. Obviously, I just angered a lot of students by suggesting, attendance AI, and I apologize, but there are some things that we spend a lot of time on and do. So think about things that are being paid for, that AI can kind of, like, if you pay me as an expert to do something and I wasted, 45 minutes on that setup that AI could have done, and you got 45 minutes of my time and focus, then you're getting your money's worth. Because I'm going to be super focused and now not making up for it, and nothing else is messing up the process. So that's where I'm at with AI. You're right. I would like to see something a little bit more than just, obviously, camera tracking. That's kind of, we've been doing camera tracking. AI adds the cool part to that. I think that we've done beamforming microphones. I think some of the cool stuff is that, we're finally going to be able to do more cost-effective audio, not audio tracking, but audio focused zones as well. With, obviously, the move back to the office, as slow as that has been, which, by the way, was a prediction that we were all excited about, and we were dead wrong. It has taken a lot longer to kind of get back in the office in certain parts of the world than it is in other spaces. I think that there's an importance. I think audio in general is an important piece to this, because one of the things that AV likes is their mac and cheese. I have to find a comfort food that the Brits like. Is it their Sunday roast? Would that be appropriate? Right? They're very comfortable. They like, the Americans like their mac and cheese. The Brits like their Sunday roast. I think that what audio is very mac and cheese. It's very easy to understand, right? It's quality, right? You can get good audio, you can play with it, it can adjust, it doesn't change a lot. It's kind of there, and it's super important, and it's so important that we kind of take it for granted. So I think that steerable audio is going to be something that is going to be important. I think AI has something to do with that.
I didn't see it coming. Audio is mac and cheese. It just wasn't.
No, listen, my job is to come up with weird analogies. Did you not see that in my job application when I said I wanted to be part of Midwich Live? You took me on as a co-host. You knew what you were getting into. Strange analogies are my specialty.
It's really strange because actually they had a focus day in the office this morning, and I
fish finger, buddy. What is that?
Fish finger butt is the best.
Lost in translation. I don't know what that comment is, but that sounds very
fish fingers in a roll, like a roll with butter, fish finger sandwich
with butter.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to have a conversation about this.
But they had gourmet mac and cheese today in the Midwich dis office. How strange. So okay. I think it's the last one. Hang on.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, it is. It's the last one. And this is the one. So this is most significant driver of change to the industry in 2024. And it's for many, many reasons. I forgot one. Next year, no, 2025 is when they stop supporting Windows 10. So something to drive towards in terms of maybe some people won't refresh until 2025 because it makes sense for them to run older kit until then. There we go. That's the one I missed. Now we're on the last one. Green certified AV products. I genuinely believe that, I don't know whether we'll adopt them or not, but we will see some of the first own eco-labeling or industry-driven eco-labeling of some sorts on kit that forms part of our AV ecosystems.
Driven by?
The people.
Yes, the people.
Driven by the people, for the people. Okay, so I've been harping on about this for quite some time now. But there's a definite change. There's a ripple happening, and it all seems to be coming about to do with a company called EcoVadis. I think that's how you say it. And with the European legislation coming into place, so the CSRD reporting, which I think starts in 2025, which means 2024 is a year of gearing up to make sure that you have your house in order and that you can report your carbon footprint and whatever else comes under that at the beginning of 2025. Now, we as an industry, we don't really have anything to look to that's specific to us. And that's where this EcoVadis comes in. And we're starting to see more and more companies over 100,000 go to EcoVadis and apply for a rating. And you will be given your rating dependent on numerous factors. And you have the opportunity, even if you produce product that is not environmentally friendly and so on, you can balance your score by offsetting in other ways. So it's a very fair system. And I am starting to hear from end users, and I try to infiltrate end user think tanks as often as I can, that they are seriously considering putting out tenders where they specify that any manufacturer or company in the supply chain must have an EcoVadis rating of insert level here or above. So it's starting. Now, EcoVadis have they say that they can tailor your rating and response to the industry that you're in, the size of your business, number of people you employ, and so on. So there's a lot of fair variables that help you not be penalized against a company that sells solar panels. But ultimately, it's what's happening at end user level that I think is the most interesting. We saw quite a good amount of activity at the shows this year in terms of promoting what they were doing to better their sourcing of raw materials, change the raw materials, use post-consumer materials. Samsung, for example, now use post-consumer materials in the resin that makes up the back plate. Sharp NEC, shining star in this space, 97.4%, I think it is, of the materials used in their displays can be recycled. We've got impact boards popping up all over the place telling us how to use our products better to reduce the carbon footprint of their entire journey. We're seeing improvements in packaging. We're seeing improvements in logistics. So what do we need now? We need something to simplify it all for us. And I really hope that 2024 is the year that we see some form of a stamp that we all go, that works, that's fair. And that stamp on these companies, brands, products helps us to make more sustainable choices in our procurement.
Yeah. You'll start seeing it creep, and we know because we've seen some of these, what I call a bid, you call a tender. Well, the only thing that's a tender in the US is a chicken tender. So the bid is starting to reflect this type of stuff. You start to see the green initiatives. And interestingly enough, where the products are now being sourced as well, not just from a environmental perspective, but they want to see where things are coming from. That used to be the whole like mystery of AV, right? You ask for it and magically it appears. We're losing our magician titles, folks. We are. Some of the stuff that we do used to be magic. We now are revealing some of the magic tricks. But one of the things that needs to be more of a focus, and this is kind of like, I hope it's not just a hope for trend, Jenny. I hope that we go down this path because recycling, reusing, and using some of the technology is not only great for the environment, for us, it can bring some of this stuff in-house, like not in-house, but in-country, right? It now opens up opportunities for growth economically and stuff like that. And we had this whole discussion that I wasn't going to take it political, and I am not political, but I do believe that big pineapple is after me at this point in my career. That please reference an AV Week recently where I believe that they put Tim Albright up to something.
I wrote that down. I wrote that down. So I didn't know if we would run out of stuff to talk about today if we move through it all too quickly. So I've written here best things I've seen this year, and they're both pretty recent. So one of them was, I don't know if anyone else saw this on social media, and it's made the AV press over the last couple of days as well, but L Acoustics had like a smash up of product. So they collected a whole bunch of counterfeit speakers and basically people went at them like a rage room. This is brilliant. So I've just written L Acoustic Smashy, and that's how we shall refer to that. But my other best thing I've seen via social media was Chris, and I've just put Chris equals diva. I don't know if anyone saw this, but it was at CTI sales meets.
At the CTI National Sales Meeting, I was confronted by Tim Albright and a handful of people who thought it would be funny to have a pineapple pizza delivered, knowing my stance against this and how I do not
he stormed
go
off
for it. So I left. I made it very clear. I don't have a rider in any contracts when I appear, right? And that's such a lie. I don't even know what a rider is. But I was told that David Lee Roth used to have one about no brown M&Ms. But I specifically said to Tim Albright, do not bring that pizza in. Next thing you know, the show starts. I'm a little angry that it even showed up at my booth. And then all of a sudden, Mitch Toulon, who was the producer for AV Week, walks in with the pizza. I'm like, don't you dare bring that on here, dude, because I really don't want to do this. This is not the time. This is not the place. And it was creeping closer. I said, you know what? You guys play. I'm out. And unfortunately, I left Jen Weaver.
And you mic dropped a lapel. I don't think you're supposed to do that.
Listen, there's firsts for everything, and I don't care. At this point, I want nothing to do with it. There was a door to the side. People were like, he came in one way, I went out the other. Hey, you know what? It happens. It's good. Stay tuned, folks, because I may have to do some payback to the AV Week folks for kind of pulling that prank on me. I was not too happy with it, but the CTI show was great. I appreciate them having me and all that sort of stuff. And we were obviously there bringing on Origin Pro, which is a new line for us. And we introduced the speaker line to their team, and it was wildly successful. So I'm very happy about that. And thank you, Jenny, for putting that on one of your top things. Trust me, of all the things I've done on social media, if that is your top for me, I'm cool. I'm cool with it.
L Acoustic Smashy, Chris equals diva in my notepad.
I'm a big fan of hydraulic press videos, like pulling stuff off and watching them get smashed. I am 100% behind that. And now I'm going to go search the L Acoustic stuff because I was on the road, I guess, when that video popped up. But we do have the final question. Going back to your green, and it came in from Mitch. Do you see a broader adoption of fiber in AV for green issues and performance enhancements? Jenny, this is your wheelhouse. What do you think?
It would make sense for there to be one. I suppose it's a new way of looking at it. We've kind of moved away from fiber's had its sort of peak years over the last 10 where we've gone, oh, it's coming back and it's going to be widely adopted, and then it just hasn't really taken off. But yeah, this would be a good opportunity and it's a good sales pitch but I'll tell you what, I'm going to answer that question with an answer to a different question by saying PoE, I believe, has a lot to offer in terms of sustainability and reduction on number of electricity points and number of potential, should we call it, energy bleed out of sockets and so on, things that are left plugged in that shouldn't be, etc. And I think that power over Ethernet is a really good way to, if we do as much as we possibly can, PoE, the end result is definitely better energy consumption, design, use, etc. So answer to a completely different question, but it made me think of it when Mitch mentioned fiber. But yeah, they're
the audience is excited. Patty is giving you the big
I
thumbs
bet
up
she is
yes
over PoE, yeah.
I wonder why, right? So again, thank you, Mitch, for the question. Patty for the thumbs up. Erica Carroll for get rid of pineapple. Awesome. Thank you, Erica, for jumping in, and everybody who's been on doing all the fun stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a crazy year for us. We have wanted to do shows every month and stay on a schedule, and producer Carrie is doing her best to kind of wrangle me and Jenny, but it's like trying to herd cats. Like it's tough. Our travel schedules and the things that we've been doing is kind of crazy, but we are going to make more time going into 2024 because we have to close the show on something that is very near and dear and important to us. Because as of this week, I have a ticket to go to Barcelona.
Oh.
And Jenny forgot about this part because it's in the show notes. But yes, Midwich Group will have a booth. You surprised? I don't think so. I'm going. Jenny's going. We are bringing back AV on air to the trade show. We got a little explanation and some clarity to help out the folks that have been reaching out because we kind of made an announcement.
And it confuses everybody every year. So
yes, let's
last time it was we put out the socials, didn't we, to say, we're going to have like a studio and you can come and you can record your podcast content and so on. And everybody assumed that we were having a show and we were after guests. Well, we then put that straight and then everybody said, oh, okay, great. Yeah. Can we come and record our own show in your space? But then we also, contrary to what we told everybody, recorded some of our own content. And then we aired that as part of our post-ISE show. So everybody assumes that we are recording a show. Now, we will be grabbing some content, although not in the same style this year. We've got some other stuff going on, but we have once again built into our booth a studio that
I wish we had a picture of it. It's actually
I think
really
Carrie has a picture. Well, Carrie has a picture of a graphic that could change. So the AV on Air studio looks a little different this year, and there's a couple of things to note about it. The first being, we intend to have one, possibly two screens on the outer wall where we'll be doing live subtitles of what's being discussed. So if you want to stop by and you see your favorite presenter in there interviewing somebody, or you're interested to see what's being captured without actually being able to hear them, you'll be able to get the gist of what's going on. But the biggest thing for the content creators, this will be a production manned studio. So we have two colleagues from Holden Limited in the UK who will be available to do live, switching, production, editing. If you want media, so if you're coming and you want to interview somebody at the show, but you've got some media assets that you want to be part of that, you can discuss that with us ahead of coming, and you will have a fully produced piece of content at the end of it, or the raw footage from multi-camera setup if you would prefer that to do your own post edit. I would go as far as to say that anything is possible. So reach out, get your slot booked, because quite a few people have nabbed theirs already. And then if you want to do something specific, or if you want to send over any sort of media and assets to use as part of it, or give us some indication of what you'd like to achieve, we can arrange for you to meet with our production techs ahead of time. And yeah, you can sit back and just do what you do, and you'll get a fully produced piece of content and show at the end of it.
So let me put, let me, wow, my
Chris's day
goodness,
started.
I'm getting calls coming in. Let me put this in perspective. Level of normal AV production and things you may get at a podcast booth. This is where we're at this year, folks. We've taken it up a notch. The produced content is awesome. It is going to be something a lot different than we had last year. So I encourage you guys to reach out. Myself, Jenny, we're all booking the podcast content creators, not necessarily booking our own show, because I currently don't have a show. And outside of Midwich Live, which we may be doing some cool stuff there, but it's not the typical Midwich Live sit and have a conversation. We're going to be doing some other cool stuff. We're going to get Jenny on a touring Barcelona, and yeah, it's going to be not surprise, Jenny. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen with us. We don't play by the rules, but we are going to take up your content creation to a next level. So if you know of anybody who would like to get some space is starting to move quite fast. We're booking an hour in the studio. So if you need 2 hours, let me know. It's 2 slots that we will take up you guys and put you guys in there. We will absolutely take everybody and anybody who wants to come in and raise their level of content. And I want to have some fun with it, honestly. Being a part of what we've done here at Starin here in the US, and now getting to see that in Barcelona. And you're right. If nobody has warned Barcelona that we're coming, I hope Mike from ISE warns them that a bunch of AV people are going to be running around. And obviously Midwich Live after dark. No, that will not happen. There's no camera crews allowed to be out past 6 o'clock. We have made that rule because that doesn't work out very well. If you want to see me have a tapas for the 4th day in a row and have panic attacks because I'm on a forced keto diet, absolutely, you can follow me. But outside of that, it is definitely going to be a good time. Jenny, have we hit all the points that we needed to hit at this episode at this time before producer Carrie goes nuts and starts giving us the red light? Please stop.
I think so. I think we're good. My list is ticked off. So I'll just recap. Then Chris can sign us out. So happy almost end of 2023. Looking forward to 2024. We're going into it with our eyes a little wider opened than we maybe entered 2023. Lots of stuff to be excited about, lots of stuff to be optimistically cautious about too. And AI, massive driving force within our industry. Let's just hope that it stops solving problems and comes up with some new stuff that we can be excited about. What will be consumer driven, spatial video, and our need to create something for that to be consumed within. Coolest stuff that we're likely to see, AV in the air, be that drones, be that retro reflection, be that holographic content. Who's going to win that IPMX, SDVoE, or Dante battle? Probably others, but maybe Dante. Well, we'll see. And then, yeah, my final and biggest one, green certified product, or sustainability as a whole and its effect on our industry. Markets to watch, or categories to watch. Big growth one, LED. I think that'll continue. Biggest comeback, interactive into education. End of session.
Wow, look at that. And we got it all done. I have a list of notes that I took that I need to kind of just go through. This is my acceptance speech at the Oscars. First of all, happy post-Thanksgiving to all those in the U.S. who celebrated. For the people in the U.K., it's more than just eating turkey. We're just thankful for turkey and to have a day that we can eat turkey. I don't think Americans eat turkey any other day of the year, so it's our one turkey day. And we, unfortunately, I waited on the line at 7 o'clock in the morning for pies. And I had to explain to a lot of Brits that it's not mince pies, it's apple pie, pumpkin pie, coconut custard pie, lemon crunch pie. Pumpkin was very awkward. I guess it's not a thing over there. So we had all these pies. I happened to go to the farm in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, waiting for pies. Blew some people away that you had to stand in line for freshly made pies. Go figure. So yes, happy Thanksgiving to all. I have one more trade show coming up. I will be at DSE this week coming up, which is Digital Signage Expo. Going to go check out some stuff while I'm there. I'll be on the show floor looking at all the vendors that are there and all the signage and all the stuff that's there. And I did have the apple cinnamon. You're right. The apple cider donuts were part of my grocery shopping list for those that saw the picture posted. Thank you. I appreciate that. DSE. Digital Signage Expo, but it's actually not Expo anymore. It's a Digital Signage Experience is next week in Vegas. I'll be there for a couple days. And I will also be hosting a happy hour. So if you are in Vegas and would like to hang out and come see some cool stuff, send me a message on LinkedIn. The LinkedIn information obviously is easy to find. It's Christopher Netto, CTS. That's my last show of the year. And then I'm taking some time off. Happy holidays to all those who are going to be celebrating. I know I will be celebrating. I know Jenny will be celebrating. Jenny's dog will be celebrating. We're all going to be celebrating. I mean, can we just have a good end of year, folks? It's going to be a wild run. So for those that are closing out projects, getting stuff done, you know where to get both a hold of myself, Jenny, or any of your obviously folks that work at Midwich and at Starin. We can help you shut it down for the year, whatever you guys need. That's my one pitch. I think I just got a message from Bill. Tell him, hey, Bill Reamer said, hey, if you need help, we're here to help. That's obviously why we're here. They're also paying the bills. They're not the sponsors today, but they're there somewhere. What else do we have? Thanksgiving, holidays, end of year, last show. Jenny, are you home, done traveling? Or are you still making appearances?
No, I think I'm done. And then I have a little trip in January ahead of ISE, but no, I'm here staying put, wrapping up the year from now on. So yeah, I guess the only other thing to say is that happy holidays, and we'll see you at the end of January or week before the end of January for our pre-ISE show, your essential guide. And if you're a manufacturer and exhibitor and you're watching this and you've got something exciting that you're going to release at ISE, go on, tell us, and we'll add it to our list of go-sees for ISE in our next show. But yes, we will see you in January. Please join us for our next show.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Again, everybody across the globe who has tuned in, and thank you for staying with us throughout the year. This is obviously our year-end closeout. So thank you, everybody, for helping out. We appreciate the views. We appreciate the engagement today. You guys have been off the charts with engaging with us. Some comments I can't even repeat that I saw pop up. Thank you so much. We had a good show. I love our unscripted shows, Jenny. I don't even know how to end it, so I'm going to do my best to end it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been Midwich Live and our great Techspectations show. See you in 2024.